All right, now to put white in its place, we got blue commons and uncommons. And starting off with the heater, Arcane Subtraction. Target creature gets -4 until end of turn, learn. Heck yeah, dude. Let's go, dude. Now learn. It's at least a 7. That's at least a 7. Yeah, so in the past, look, I am a secret admirer of the card Befuddle, which I played in every sealed deck. Befuddle, which is 3 mana, draw, -4 draw a card. And there was an Investigate card. There was an Investigate card called Jace's Scrutiny that gave -4 and Investigate, and I love this card too. So, Arcane Subtraction has an extremely good pedigree. So, I am on board. I'm on board with this. This is at least a 7 out of 10. At least. I like it. Yeah, I attack my 2/2 until you're a 2/2. You block. I Arcane Subtraction you. Your guy is dead. I get to go learn for a lesson. Even if I rummage with this, I'm not even embarrassed, right? Even if I don't get a lesson, I just rummage. I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm on board. Speaking of Befuddle, Flash, when it enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -1/0. Ooh. Oh, all right. Is it a 5? Yeah, maybe a 5? If it was a 1/2 instead of a 1, if it was a 1/2 instead of a 2/1, it might actually be better. But it's at least a 5. You think it's more of a 4? I think it's a 5. Blue is generally like looking like a flash creature is pretty valuable in general. A 2-power flash creature, like it proxies as like a removal spell a lot of the time. Just like your opponent attacks with their 3/2 and you just flash it and block. Like you're not actually thinking about I attack with my 2/2, you block with your 2/2, I play Burfog, Befuddler, and I give your 2/2 into a 1/2 and I eat your guy, right? That's not actually what happens. That's not gonna happen. The part of this card where your opponent attacks with like a 2/2 or a 3/2 and you just like block and kill it, that's kind of like where, yeah, I think this is a 5. I think it's a perfectly fine 21st card in your deck. This spell costs 2 less to cast if it targets an attacking creature. Put target creature into its owner's library second from the top. Wow. This card is good, right? Yeah, this card seems good. This should be a white card. Yeah. Yeah, this... Yeah. This is at least a 6. White needs this type of effect. This is so much better than Expel. This is what Expel should be. This is literally what Expel should be. Like 5 mana, exile a creature. 3 mana if it hits an attacking creature. That's exactly what it should be. Yeah. Embarrassing. Yeah, good. Nothing to complain about. Yeah. The fact that it puts it second from the top instead of on top is better. I think it's an actually upside. Like, I think it'd be a worse card if it put it directly on top. Because your opponent has like a 6 mana 6/6 that you need to deal with, and you cast Burying Books on it. You'll have like a turn before they can draw and replay it. Well, 2 turns. 3 turns before they can attack with it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at the top 2 cards from your library, put any number of them into your graveyard, and put the rest on the top of your library in any order. This is probably a 4. This is Surveil 2, draw a card. That ability of look at the top 2 and put them on top and then draw a card. Deliberate in the past, which was Scry 2, draw a card, was also a 4 out of 10. I mean, if you're playing a 2-color deck and you have like a bomb to go find, it's okay. So this can never be a 7. It's like an Anticipate, right? This is worse than Anticipate. And Anticipate was just 1 out of blue, look at the top 3, put 1 in your hand. This is worse than Anticipate. Anticipate's like a 4 out of 10. Yeah, there's Magecraft, right? It's an instant speed to trigger Magecraft. Yeah, it's a filler card. If this is your 22nd card, you're like not unhappy. So, let's not go delve too deep into the minutia of whether this is a 4 or a 5 or a 3. It's a filler card for sure. Frost Trickster. When it enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature does not untap. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And so let me... Frostlinks. Frostlinks is what this card used to be. And this was a solid 5 out of 10. It was a filler card in sealed. A solid 5 out of 10 filler card in sealed. And this is way better than that. It has flying. Yeah, Chillbringer. Yeah, you know, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Chillbringer dominated this format. Chillbringer was an 8 out of 10, almost 9 out of 10 card. This is a card you used to splash for. Now, Chillbringer is a lot better than Frost Trickster. 3/3 for 5 is way better than a 3-mana 2/2. But Chillbringer was like literally an 8 out of 10, 7, or almost a 9 out of 10 in that format. Chillbringer was like the best common creature probably in that format. So it's worse than an 8. It's either a 6 or a 7. I'm gonna put it as a 6. But you think it's a 7? If I open 3 of these, am I gonna play all 3? Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Maybe. Why isn't this a white card? Core Hookmaster was a card. This is a card they printed in the past. Why isn't it just a white card? All right. Tuna Blue, draw a card, learn. I don't know about this. I don't know about this. Well, wait a minute. It is an instant, not a sorcery. I didn't notice that. Okay, yeah, wait. It is an instant. But all lessons are sorceries. So there's no like, you know, getting a lesson and then like getting them with something they didn't expect, right? It is 2 Magecraft triggers. It is 2 Magecraft triggers. And you know the floor for this is actually, yeah, that's why I just searched it up. The floor for this is actually catalog. Right? Because you draw a card, then discard a card and draw a card. It's not like, it's a little bit worse than catalog, but not by much. And that's the literal floor is catalog. And that's not bad. Catalog was a filler card. Catalog is better than Curate. It's better than this. It's at least a 5. Yeah, it's either a 5 or a 6. I mean, I guess it's a 6 if you've got good lessons. Yeah, this is good filler. It's like, this is a fine 21st card. You're not embarrassed to play it, for sure. It's at least a 5. It's worse than Arcane Subtraction, but for sure. For sure worse than that. Counter target creature or planeswalker unless they pay 3. If that spell is countered in this way, exile it. Yeah, this card's good. You just always play this, right? Like, remove soul you would always play. And this can hit the mythic planeswalkers. You wouldn't play 3. Yeah, you always play Mana League. It's at least a 6. It's at least a 6. You probably... I mean, maybe it's a 5. It's a 5 or a 6. It does get worse in a format because the lessons... It does get worse because of these lessons, right? You can't counter those. That is certainly something. It does trigger the white doggo. No, it's only on your turn. So if you have Snowbinder's Familiar and your opponent counters your card, it will get a counter, right? Yeah. That's kind of... It's either a 6 or a 5. That's probably the 6. It might be a 7 even. If there's like a lot of Ravenous Lindworms in the set that you want to counter, it's probably a 7, but I don't know. Exile target artifact or creature. Its controller puts a 4/4. Wow. Raven form leveled up. Except you're probably going to target your own. So this is actually Pongify. I'm sorry, catalog is still up there. So Pongify was really good. You almost always played this. Oh, there was Angelic? Is that what it was called? Angelic something in the most recent set? Oh, this was a white card. No, you're right. Angelic Ascension. Wait, what? This was a white card. This card was good, though. You always played this one. You always play Angelic Ascension, but you just targeted your own creature. Why does blue just get to have everything white has? I think it's closer to Pongify than Angelic Ascension. Because not like a ground creature instead of a flyer, right? This is a 5, right? I don't think you main deck this card very often. Maybe it's a 4. It's not embarrassing. What this actually does is... So the cool part about the Resculpt is it's totally reasonable for your opponent to be attacking with a 3/3 and you Resculpt like your 2/2 to have like a flash untapped blocker and block their 3/3 and kill it, right? Like you have a Frost Trickster and you like attack for 2 in the air with your Frost Trickster, and then your opponent attacked with their 3/3 on the ground, and you like resculpted your Frost Trickster into a 4/4 untapped creature and blocked it and ate their creature. That's totally reasonable. Yeah, and if your opponent has like a removal spell on your creature, you can respond with Resculpt, and you get to like turn your creature into like a 4/4, which is probably bigger than what they're killing, or at least equal to. It's at least a 4. Stop talking about treasures. No one cares about treasures. No one. No one cares about treasures. Come on. It's at least a 4. I would actually go... This is probably closer to a 5 than a 4. It might be like a 4.6 or a 4.7 or something. This card is fine. You're very likely to target your stuff and not your opponent's, unlike Raven form. So Raven form in the previous set was exile target artifact or creature, and they get that creature's or artifact's controller gets a 1/1. You're very likely targeting your opponent's things. This, you're targeting your own things. Put a 0/0 green and blue into play. Put X counters on it where X is 1 plus the total number of instance and sorcery cards you own in exile or in graveyard. Wait, wasn't this card a card in the past? I'm sure it was. Was it this card in the flashback set? It doesn't count itself? Well, it sort of does, but it says 1 plus, right? Oh, experimental overload. That's exactly right. Yeah, that's what it was. Create an X token where X is the number of instant sorcery cards in your graveyard. Yeah. Invade the city was the same thing. Well, experimental overload was really good. But that's just a Drew card. Amass X, where X is the number of instant sorcery cards in your graveyard. Well, this was bad. This was bad. This was like a... Yeah, this was bad. But this card, Serpentine Curve, counts exile and it's 1 plus, right? And it's 1 plus. So if you have 2 instants or sorceries in your graveyard, this is a 4-mana 3/3, which is like, that's a reasonable... I think that's a pretty reasonable floor to have. Yeah, and all the learn cards are like 2, right? I think this is fine. I mean, your deck has to support it. It has a really high ceiling. It can be like a 4-mana 7/7 pretty easily, I think. Yeah, on like turn 7 or turn 8, this could totally be a 7/7. That's like totally reasonable to me. Yeah, I think it's either a 6 or a 5, right? It's a 6 or a 5. I like it. I'm looking forward to playing with this card to see if it's actually good. If your deck is good, this card is going to be great, right? I have to believe that. Yeah, player 5177, you are correct. This feels like an uncommon to me. Because like the other 2 cards I showed you, Experimental Overload and and Invading the City, were both uncommons. This feels like an uncommon. You're totally right. Draw a card, then discard a card. Yeah, great filler, right? Probably a 5. 4 or 5. Maybe it's a 4 because it's somewhat expensive. But in the past, this was a 2-mana 1/2 in the past, and that card was playable. Like, this card was a 2-mana 1/2 in the past, right? They just made it yeah, they made it +1/0, +0/+1. It's either a 4 or a 5. Yeah, I totally agree with you that 1/3 is way better than 1/2. I agree. If this was, I'll tell you what. If this was the Seeker, it would be a 6. Okay, so draw a card, discard a card, activate this ability only if you've cast a non-creature spell. If it was Seeker of Insight, it would be a 6. This card, Seeker of Insight, was phenomenal. Yeah, this card was phenomenal. Was this exact card in War of the Spark? Was it really? I don't remember that. I'm gonna put it as a 4. As long as you control 8 or more lands, Vortex Runner gets +1/0 and can't be blocked. This was an uncommon that had hexproof in previous sets. It had Ascend. Right. Slippery Scoundrel. City's Blessing is equivalent to 8 lands. It's the same thing. Yeah, this is filler for sure. Probably a 4. 4 or 5. 4-mana, 3/1 flying, Ward 2. Nah. Yeah. It's like a 4 or 5, right? This is like filler. Is it better than a 3-2 no text? Like a 3-2 flying no text? Is it better than Snapping Drake? You think it's better than Snapping Drake? This is the baseline. This is the baseline for that effect. Well, even if there was 1 damage something, there's a lesson that does 1 damage, right? There's that red lesson that does 1 damage. Even if there is, you have to pay 2 more for it, right? So. You think Ward is better than 1 toughness? Maybe. Well, especially if in this format, the flying tokens are not 1-1s, they're 2-1s. Right? The flying tokens are Inklings, which are 2-1 flyers. So it having 1 toughness doesn't even matter. If it was a 2 toughness, it would still die. It's like a 4, probably. It's a total fiddle. It's worse than most filler cards, I think. It's whatever. It's either a 4 or a 5. You're not happy. I don't think you're happy to main deck this. You're like, yeah. I'll play every one of these Waterfall Aerialists I open. I don't think that's what's going on. Yeah, you're right. Having a common lesson that is either white or black does make this card worse. You're totally right. No, you're totally right. I think you're right. That is probably better than Snapping Drake. It is probably better than Snapping Drake. Yeah. Divide by 0. Okay. Return target spell or permanent with mana value 1 or greater to its owner's hand. Learn. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you can return spells. Yeah, you're right. It can't hit tokens. It's disperse / remand, right? It's like disperse / remand split card that also learns. We just can't hit tokens. Misery, inadequacy, failure. The common denominator is you. That is good flavor text. Yeah, you could do it to your own stuff. Yeah. It's not as good as Into the Royal. I think drawing a card is better than learning. But it does hit spells, though. This does hit spells. Yeah, the fact that it can hit spells is like a really big deal. This is almost always going to be tempo positive. Almost always. Because you're going to be bouncing something that costs 3 or more. Even if it's a spell. So like tempo positive learn. Yeah. Yeah. The question is whether this is a 7 or an 8, right? I think it's at least a 7. This is the best learn card we've seen, right? Oh, maybe not. Maybe the 2-1 is better. Is this Professor Symbology better? I don't think so. No, this is I think this is probably an 8. Oh, this bypasses uncounterable. That is kind of lame. Of course it does. This is probably an 8. I'll give it an 8. Is it on par with the Terminate? Maybe. Like, is this better or worse than 5 mana destroy target creature sorcery? You think it's better? Okay, 5 mana destroy target non-token permanent. Non-token creature. But this can hit spells or permanents too, though. I think it's better. The fact that it doesn't hit tokens is downside, but because there is that 5 mana 4/4 flying token, right? Or a 5 mana token, this thing. And not hitting that kind of sucks. But being able to hit other things is fine. But you can go find that card with this. If it could hit tokens, it would be a solid 8 or a 9. I agree with you. The question is whether, because it can't hit tokens, how bad is that? It's at least a 7. I'll put it as a 7. It might be worse than a Terminate, but it wouldn't be by much. It's like a 7.7 or a 7.8, right? It's not much. No, bouncing spells has to be worth it, right? Bouncing your opponent's, like, destroy one of your creatures, that has to be worth it. Alright, I'll reserve Judgment and divide by 0 to reduce it to 7. I'm going out on a limb and calling it an 8. Alright, untap another target permanent you control, tap target permanent. What the fudge? Why isn't this a white card? Alright, this is at least an 8. Because you can tap your opponent's creature, right? And it also produces mana for you. Or you can give your creature vigilance. It's so versatile. Holy moly. What? Man, why? Yeah, it's a ramp card. Just to rub it in. Ugh. Yeah. That card's great. Blue just gets to be the best. Alright, whenever you cast a spell, copy it if you control a Planeswalker, Cleric, Druid, Shaman, Warlock, or Wizard. Yeah, this card seems great. Is it an 8 or a 9? Well, it copies it, so it triggers Magecraft twice, right? This feels like an 8 or a 9. I'll go as an 8. But I'm willing to believe it's a 9. How many creatures have the tag? Good question. This is a wizard. This is a wizard. This is a wizard. This is a wizard. The answer is all of them. The answer is all of them. All of them have it. If you have a creature, copy it. Basically non-Kelpies. Unless our Kelpie is secretly also a wizard. No, our Kelpie is a beast. Even our Djinns are wizard. Yes, they're all wizards. It'll be harder to not copy it. Yes. Alright, that's an 8. Willing to believe that is a 9. Willing to believe it. Because Behold the Multiverse in the previous set was a 9. And this is potentially better than Behold the Multiverse, right? This effect is potentially better than Behold the Multiverse. Behold the Multiverse being an instant was whatever. Behold the Multiverse I played as you should have played it as a sorcery a vast majority of the time anyway. And this is resistant to counter spells. It also triggers Magecraft twice, and it costs 1 less. I think this is potentially better than Behold the Multiverse, and Behold the Multiverse is a 9 in the previous format. I think, yeah, I also believe that Scry 1 draw card, Scry 1 draw card is better than Scry 2 draw card. Draw 2 cards, rather. I think this is actually a better effect. Because this gives you access to seeing the third card as a part of your decision making, which the other one does not do. This is at least an 8. Yeah. Moving on. Tap up to 2 target creatures. Those creatures don't untap. Draw 2 cards, then discard a card. This effect sounds familiar. I feel like they printed this sort of card in the past. They literally stuck Catalog and Frost Breath together. Catalog costs 2 and a blue. We looked at it earlier. Frost Breath is tap 2 creatures they don't untap next turn. They're both instants. 2 and a blue plus 2 and a blue equals 4 blue blue. We're geniuses. We did it. Yeah, so the joke... Yeah, it's a big Crippling Chill. Crippling Chill was good. 6 mana. Yeah. So this is way better than 6 mana bounce 2 creatures. That effect, it's way better than that. Who studies on their snow days? I didn't. No, this feels like a 6 to me. It's either a 6 or a 5, I think. It's better than Renashore. Heck yeah, it's better than Renashore. It's way better than Renashore. Which was in the previous set. You think it's worse? No, I think it's way better. I think it's way better, and I don't think it's close. Imagine this. Your opponent has like a 6 and a 5 drop, and they're going to attack you. If you run ashore them, they put a creature, you put the 5 drop in their hand and the 6 drop on top of their deck. They like replay the 5 and they attack you with the 5 next turn. And then the next turn they play the 6. With Snow Day, they don't hit you that turn. You draw 2, discard 1. Next turn they also don't hit you. You don't get hit by the 5 drop. And we're not even counting the fact that you get to draw 2, discard 1. This is way better than Run Ashore. Yeah, and they don't get come to play abilities like the Ravenous Linderworms aren't going to gain 4 life. They can't block. Right. They don't get an untapped creature to block with. This is either a 5 or a 6. Probably a 5. Because you're not going to play 2 of these. But it's a good filler card. It's a great 23rd card. You're like you're not going to be unhappy to play this as your 23rd card, right? So yeah, this is fine. Okay, solve the equation. Search your library for an instant or sorcery card, reveal it, and put it in your hand, then shuffle. This is filler. Definition of filler, this is probably a 3. Because you add 3 mana to the cost of any instant or sorcery, and it's not worth it, right? I mean, yes, it triggers Magecraft twice. No. This is like a 3. If you've got the bombs played, if you don't even bother. So that's what a 3 is. But there's not we're going to talk about much. Symmetry Sage. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, target creature you control has base power 2. No, it's not a Delver's Secrets. It's much more riddle form, right? It's much closer to riddle form. Right? This turn into like a 3/3 flyer whenever you cast an instant or sorcery. Riddle form was like pretty medium minus. The riddle form was like a 3 or a 4. And I think this is worse than that. This is probably a 2. I'm not even sure this is filler. I think this is probably a 2. This feels like a draft. I think in draft, this is probably a 4 or 5. But I think it's pretty unlikely that your sealed deck is going to have enough cards to support this. So maybe it's a 3. The ceiling on this is pretty insane. Dude, no one cares about fractals. Counter target instant or sorcery spell. Oh, so it's Quash. Except it costs 2 instead of 4? Oh, they draw a card if there's a second copy in their hand. Whatever. You never played Quash. If you're wondering where Quash is, I'll bring it up for you. This was Quash. You never played this card, right? Like, a huge part of negate effects, which is counter non-creature spells, a huge part of that is hitting, like, enchantments and artifacts, or in planeswalkers. Hitting only instant sorceries, I mean, your opponent's not going to have that many in their deck, and they might even be a lesson, so he even cares. Yeah, this is like this is a 2, right? I don't even know how you would bring this in. I think this is bad. It's a 2. If your opponent has a bomb instant or sorcery, you would definitely bring it in. Like, you know how the previous format had Starnheim Unleashed? Like, if your opponent has Starnheim Unleashed, you would bring this in, right? So it's not like it's unplayable. 5-mana 3/5. Ooh. Siege Mastodon. Hey, how you doing? Bring out a Siege Mastodon for everybody at home. There's Siege Mastodon for you. 5-mana 3/5 no text. Target creature can't be blocked. I like it. This is filler, right? Why isn't this white? Good question. Yeah, it can target anybody, not just itself. Yeah. So on 8 mana, you're probably hitting them for 6 or 7, right? This is like a... Is this like a 6? This seems like it's probably a 6. You're probably always going to play this. You're not happy to play multiples. Yeah, Ashiok Skulker was like a solid 6. Solid 5 or 6, right? And this is way better than Ashiok Skulker. You're right. No, you're totally right. That's a better comparison. Yeah, Ashiok Skulker. Yeah. Way better than this. Like, strictly better. It's a strictly better Ashiok Skulker. Strictly better. And Skulker was good. Like, you were happy to play it. So... But yeah, so that's blue. Blue is pretty good. Not a whole lot of unplayable cards. They have a couple of 8s. Yeah, they have a couple of 8s. Kelpie Guide. At common, they're kind of lackluster, right? For commons, like, seems like the best common is probably Frost Trickster. But that's okay. The power level of this set seems a lot less than previous sets. Just judging by, like, what the cards are.